If you are a new or an aspiring founder of your small business and have no time to waste or really struggle to do your social media marketing, you will enjoy our Creating Reorganized show. In my day job as a psychology professor, I teach my bachelor and master students in real life how to reorganize processes in a goal-directed and future-proof way in companies. And that's what I have done for a living as a former IT strategy consultant. For my own career coaching business on the side, I can only dedicate a fraction of my time because, I prioritize care work for my little children. I face the same or similar challenges like all small business owners. So I applied all my experience and knowledge to create my other video podcast, PostdocTransformation show, to streamline my social media marketing and to boost sales of my coaching, e-courses, and affiliate products or services. I strategically capitalize on professional tools to scale my impact according to my vision of life. Listen and subscribe to this Creating Reorganized show so you will learn to do the same for your own business, to build the know, like, and trust factor, and to boost sales of your services or products. Please also ask your business-specific questions because for the next seasons, I envision interview episodes with aspiring and new founders like you if you want to get your Creating Reorganized according to your vision of life. As in every episode, at the end, I will wrap everything up from a psychological method, theory, or concept point of view. So stay tuned until the end of this episode, especially if you are my bachelor and master student in real life. I would love for you to take notes and maybe even already recognize my arguments. I'm your host, Professor Dr. Eleonore Soei Winkels, and now welcome to our show, Creating Reorganized. Best ways to showcase your products or services on a video podcast to drive sales. Hi, Creating Reorganizer. Welcome back to this Creating Reorganized show, the show that helps small business owners like you streamline, converge, and sustain your marketing and sales efforts without feeling overwhelmed. I'm your host, Professor Dr. Eleonore Soei Winkels. I'm a part-time professor, full-time mom, and a podcaster who's been in your shoes. If you want to unlock the potential of video podcasting to showcase your products and services and drive sales, this episode is for you. We'll break down the best ways to position your offerings in a way that builds trust and engages your audience and, most importantly, converts views into sales. We'll cover why video podcasts are the perfect way for showcasing products and services, key marketing concepts you can use to craft your content, and once you have listened, you will have actionable strategies and prompts you can use right after this episode. As always, at the end of this episode, I will wrap everything up from a psychological method, theory, or concept point of view. So stay tuned until the end of this episode, especially if you are my bachelor or master student in real life. I would love for you to take notes and maybe even recognize my arguments. Let's go. Part 1. So why are video podcasts are such a powerful medium for selling products and services? Well, here's the thing. Traditional sales channels like email marketing, blogs, and even ads have their limits. They're often one-sided and don't allow a genuine interaction with your audience. Video podcasts, however, they thrive on engagement, on storytelling, and also authenticity. Core benefits of video podcasts for marketing are really the visual and auditory impact. You can show and tell, right? Whether it's a product demo or a service walkthrough, ideally from the point of view of your ideal customer, you can visually and verbally convey value. It's also long-form content. Unlike quick social media posts that, are rather shallowly digested, video podcasts let you dig deeper, addressing objections and showcasing benefits in detail. They are ready to digest your content. They have a problem. They want to listen. They want to learn. It's a different state of mind, right? So they're really ready. And you are earning your audience's trust. Regular listeners and also viewers already trust you, making them more likely to consider your recommendations. There's also the potential of repurposing. Your video podcast isn't just a one-time asset. Social media clips can be repurposed for social media, stripped down just for a carousel post or something like that, but also as is video clips. They can be used and embedded in email campaigns and also be retargeted as ads. So you can really multiply the impact of recording once. And to let you experience my own example, I will now play my own demo of using Descript and their feature Edit for Clarity. For full transparency, I was paid to do that, and if you already know it, you can jump to the next chapter marker within your podcast player. But if not, I think that is a great example of how I try to walk in the shoes of my own customers, right? Before we continue, we want to appreciate those who finance this valuable episode for you. I want to share with you my best marketing agent. Serving my underprivileged, underrepresented, and underserved audience, leads and clients is key for me as an Asian working mom, business owner, and professor in Germany. But I can't be marketing and selling all the time, and I have to be mindful with my own resources. So I chose Podbean as my podcasting host and monetizing provider. I'm on the Unlimited Plus plan for our PostdocTransformation show and Creating Reorganized show. With Podbean, your audience can inclusively listen and watch your podcast according to their visual and auditive needs. You can also embed your customized podcast player on your external website or use one of the beautiful website templates. You can easily share your podcast on all major podcasting directories, which allow you to reach a huge audience on their favorite devices in their countries. Podbean also has an ads marketplace, and you can easily attract and manage sponsors for dynamic ads, which are played out depending on your audience criteria. This way, you can serve your audience for free. Some of them become your clients eventually, but your advertising sponsors independently support you financially in each episode. You will see insightful stats per demographic and which episodes attracted most listeners, so you can tailor your future episodes for your leads and clients and present suitable external ads. If you want to try out Podbean for your own podcasting, DM or email me Podbean so I can share my experience and consult you. Please check it out via my link in the show notes. I only get a small financial reward if you become their customer using my Podbean link. After this short salute to our sponsors, we now return to our inspiring episode.
Hi, this is the AI editor. Just to make clear, the following chapter is really a making-of video documentation of how Eleonore is speaking into the mic spontaneously and using the Descript user interface. This is a long session of unusual rambling on, but informative, as it shows that editing Eleonore is a needed service to honor your time. Also, make sure that you watch the video to see all visual and audio effects Eleonore used to enhance the original recording. The inserted YouTube video is also linked in the show notes if you prefer to skip this for later watching and directly continue with the highly edited video podcast in the next chapter.
A hook allows the listeners, the viewers, the audience, your students to understand why should they listen and watch your video. For my students, I always say this is exam relevant, and then everyone is like, wow, I want to listen to this. So my students love it. Edit for clarity, because your audience, your viewers, your students deserve crisp and well-cut, well-produced episodes of your wisdom, in the sense of why they should listen to that. Because social media can teach us to create good hooks, right? I use Descript and also the AI tools a lot. So I'm a happy customer, also an affiliate partner, and I love to demo for you. You are maybe wondering, how did I get the clips? Well, I edited it for clarity, remember? So now I'll show you a short sequence of a 7-minute or so video where I was rambling on. That was actually the basis for the 2 clips that I showed you before. You'll be very happy that Descript AI has already transcribed all the 7 minutes that I've been rambling on and on and on. So in the next video, I'll show you how it looks like as a result. Okay, so again, a 7-minute video rambling on transcribed. So time lapse. All right, so now you can find me here. I did a screen recording, obviously, from what I have been producing now. You can see this 7 minutes, something like. and it had been transcribed in like 2 or 3 minutes or so. I think that the transcription is well, which is not a surprise because I'm a heavy Descript user, and for 95% of my recordings, even for my name, etc., most of that really is I can take it as is, and then I could also remove the owns and the whatever. So there's also wordless media in there, so that's the dots and so on. So I could cut that out. Okay, so but I don't want to do this, but instead I now want to sort of like look at it from clarity point of views, right? Like I said, my audience, my students in real life, the bachelor and master students of industrial and occupational psychology, but also my postdoc transformers, the scientists leaping into business, and also the managing directors, the senior key decision makers, whoever, who may think of, do I want to sort of like invest in sponsored ads for my show, right? So they deserve that I cut my best edits into one so that it's more clear. Okay, so that again would be something that I would have to pass, that I would have to cut and paste and together into a better version, because I am from Germany, so not obviously, but I am from Germany, so English is my second language, and that means editing for clarity is really a handy feature. Okay, good. Now let's say I want to edit this for clarity. I go to actions, so this is the actions bar, and I see AI actions, right? So I can click on it and check for edit for clarity. Okay, so that's the third bar from here. So again, I go to AI actions, which is here. Then I go to ask AI. It's an AI action, so I ask AI, and then I go for edit for clarity. Okay, good. And then I say edit this down to remove any speech disfluencies, repeated sections and tangents that distract from the core ideas. And I'll be very surprised to have it not cut it down from 7 minutes to hopefully a lot shorter. And then let's see how that works. I have to highlight this and then edit for clarity and then do this. Now AI is thinking. Fine. So now let's see. Hi, my name is Eleonore Soei Winkels. All right. So have you ever started a video? Blah, blah, blah. Lost your train of thought. That sounds like me. I'll get started of it anyway, and I hope that this is much shorter. I don't know. Well, let's see. It looks very long. But, oh, okay. Now you can see the strike-throughs. Okay, so that means that was probably when I was starting and thinking and had to restart again. Okay, obviously, usually there are some strike-throughs. You have two options, right? You can choose to delete the strikeouts, and then you have sort of like jump cuts maybe, or final cuts, and that is also okay. But you could also even record it again based on the edited script. So you have two options, right? Okay, so I wanna have both. So copy edits to new compositions. So that means that I have the first version where I was rambling on, and then I have a second composition where I can play around with that, right? So copy that, and again I'll have AI edits, and then okay, so the demo. Edit for clarity, demo, that's the main topic, and then I did some AI edits. Okay. So let's see that. So that's 7. The original was 7 minutes and 34, and the AI edits were like 6:37. So depending on how well I was doing, the less edits need to be made. I would say that my rambling on was very atypical, and I would honestly I would have expected a shorter edit at the end of the day. But let's see. Maybe this second one, the 6:37, is really brilliant. Let's see. Okay. I cannot listen at the moment because obviously I'm recording, so I don't want to listen at the moment, but I can read through that. Okay. Okay, so I hit the most important things. Okay. You know, all the you knows are away. So I always say so, comma, and this is. Okay. To introduce your guest or whatever, so let's try another. Okay, so this is where I'm saying that's great, okay? So because I started to sidetrack and to recommend another AI feature, and maybe that is distracting and not helpful for my audience. So the AI picked up that I was sidetracking or started to sidetrack and took that out or strike that out. Okay, that's great. And then I want to demo that for you at the end of the day, blah, blah, blah. So here, again, that's great to take it out. I would have taken it out also if I had edited for clarity manually, so that's great. And I think that's good to go, almost. I mean, this is not a robot in front of the camera. Okay. Yeah, why not? That's just for demo purposes. And obviously, if you have real content that you are preparing and stuff like that, then it will be helpful for being edited for clarity. So now I have two options, really. I could use that and re-record over on top of that, sort of like I can re-record it based on what I'm seeing. So everything that had been striked out, I could read that again. What I don't really like, I just edit that out. And I think that's a great first attempt to go through your 1 hour, 2 hour interview, which I actually do. I have 1 hour interviews, which I edit down to a 30-minute, 40-minute episode. And then I insert also some other stuff, like ads or other information or whatever. So that will help me to go through the raw content much faster. And I could, drink a coffee or whatever, do whatever, play with my kids or whatever it is, right? So I would say that this is a really handy feature, and I would love for you to use Descript and the AI feature, edit for clarity, and then you can obviously have some suggestions, strike-throughs that you can use for editing for clarity. And then you can choose to either re-record or even use a stock speaker that's someone Descript has employed to sort of like record in your own voice or in their own voice. But you could also have a clone of your voice. So that's another AI action, so that you can train your own voice clone, so to speak. So I did this. I don't really like this at the moment. So I actually do like to be human on my podcast. But I can see myself being sick for a couple of days or weeks. And that's when I would edit my podcast. And sometimes I have to edit also my own takes because I hear an echo in my guest's videos or audios, so I have to record that. But if my voice isn't good, then a voice clone is good enough. Okay, I did this a couple of times and I think it's good enough. It's better especially if I have time pressure or so. So this is great for like sort of like as a workaround. You could also have an AI speaker. Like I said, it's an option that you can have in Descript. So there are a lot of AI features that you can use. And I really do think that the Edit for Clarity is a great start for you to use AI features on your own show, on your podcast, or also on your lectures. Okay? So I hope that this episode or this AI edits from Edit for Clarity Descript demo will help you to do the same for you. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm an affiliate partner. I can also share my Descript link with you so that you have perks for your first attempt to sort of like Edit for Clarity, because that really is a great great feature for all lecturers. I guess that you agree with me. Only if you're really interested in editing for clarity, you would have gone through all the things that I have just shared for 7 minutes, right? So yes, obviously I shared a couple of things that were really interesting and also very helpful in the long run. But at the end of the day, you are probably grateful that I have cut out 2 clips that I have shared before. Right? I assume now that you understand that the 2 social clips that I created were much better than the whole rambling on that I have just shared with you. A hook allows the listeners, the viewers, the audience, your students to understand why should they listen and watch your video. For my students, I always say like, this is exam relevant, and then everyone is like, wow, I want to listen to this. So my students love it. Edit for clarity, because your audience, your viewers, your students deserve crisp and well-cut, well-produced episodes of your wisdom, in the sense of why they should listen to that. Because social media can teach us to create good hooks, right? I use Descript and also the AI tools a lot. So I'm a happy customer, also an affiliate partner, and I love to demo for you. My name is Eleonore Soei Winkels, and I'm a professor for industrial and occupational psychology. I'm a host and producer of the PostdocTransformation show, the show for scientists leaping into business. And in that capacity, I use Descript and the AI tools a lot.
This is the Descript AI editor again. Yeah, you made it through Eleanor's rambling on. How did you feel being exposed to the uncut version? If you honor your leads and customers' time, you will now want to edit. And here's an open secret. I am an AI, so I don't feel anything when I edit. When Eleonore edits her own material, she may feel bored, unmotivated, or simply cringe and stop editing, and it takes a long time. Using the Descript AI feature, Edit for Clarity, helps Eleonore to save a lot of time.
After this quick example of how I would demo Descript and also their AI feature, Edit for Clarity, this brings us to introduce you to the marketing theory AIDA, namely attention, interest, desire, and action. And here's how it applies. So for attention, you can use your podcast intro and visuals to grab the audience's focus. Interest, share relatable stories and insights that show that you understand their needs. If you don't have a client avatar, I recommend to listen to the first episode as well, where we think about the avatars. So then you have the desire, and that is that you demonstrate how your product or service solves their problems and elevates their lives, right? At the end of the day, you want to lift their status. You want to make their life easier, and with a clear and compelling call to action that guides them toward the next step, so they know what to do next. Here's an example. Think about a fitness coach selling a subscription-based app. They could use, their podcast to show snippets of workout. Again, the audio isn't really telling, but if you had video as well, showing the workouts and showing the environment of the gym, etc., will be telling a lot. So you can share transformational stories before and after, explain the science behind the methods, the reasoning, etc. And then you can end by directing the listeners to a free trial link. So that already qualifies your listeners that they know, like, and trust enough to use that link, so they're ready to implement what they have learned. And here's your actionable prompt. Ask yourself, how can you visually demonstrate the value of your product or service in under 2 minutes? Like for social media, if it's a very short thing, that's even better. If it's a complex thing, obviously you need longer. But the longer it is, the less appealing it will be probably. What stories or examples could you make your audience feel, I need this, right? So you have to make them feel that they want to buy your service. Let's pause quickly to appreciate those who sponsor this valuable episode. I want to share with you my time and energy saver. As a professor for industrial and occupational psychology, I also teach about the future of work, and as a former IT strategy consultant, of course, I embrace AI to be a future-proof podcast producer of the PostdocTransformation show and the Creating Reorganized show. Descript is the video and audio podcast editing tool of my choice. I pay for their creator plan, and it's worth every dollar. Descript comes with an integrated professional remote recording studio for the best audio quality for your guests and you. For example, I record an hour interview with a guest or a solo, and instead of painstakingly doing a rough cut and deleting all the ums and ahs and filler words and rambling around, which I did for hours, I now click on Descript's AI, editing for clarity, and my rough cut is done in seconds or a minute. For fine-tuning, I edit text instead of audio waves, and I just insert all my pre-recorded music, intro, ads, and outro, like this one, in a matter of minutes. I can then easily export closed captions, fine-tune AI-driven summaries, chapter markers, and titles, which I feed into my show notes and podcast host. Descript even suggests the best clips for social media, and their video editor automatically includes the synchronized speakers, cameras, and audio captions. I can also include stock graphics or pre-recorded videos. You can find our short-form examples on our Instagram and TikTok at PostdocTransformation. If you want to try out Descript for your own podcast editing, DM or email me, Descript, so I can share my experience and consult you. Please check it out via my link in the show notes. I only get a small financial reward if you become their customer using my Descript link. Thanking our sponsors for the financial support, we are happy to return to a valuable episode. Now let's go to part 2, key marketing concepts that will help you frame your product or service effectively in your video podcast. So number 1, and I already mentioned that in the second episode of our Creating Reorganized show, the power of storytelling. So if you haven't listened to that, I will link to it in the show notes so you can check this out. But essentially, people buy emotionally and justify in hindsight logically. So you can use storytelling to connect emotionally with your audience. This is how you can do that. Share your why. Why did you create your product or service or whatever? Why do you think this service is needed? You can include customer success stories, what challenges did they face, and how did your product or service help them overcome the problems. And you can use vivid imagery and emotional words to make your narrative stick, right? So don't be overly flowery, but you have to really speak the language of your customer. So here's an example. A small business offering handmade skincare products. You could share the story of a customer who struggled with sensitive skin for years until they found the perfect match in your product. And obviously, I am Asian. So for me, seeing white hands, darker hands than mine, is not really relatable. So if you want to sell me something, then probably you need to have someone who looks like me, for example. And that helps you to niche down. The audio wouldn't tell the skin color, but the video obviously shows that. And I think that is also a great benefit for that, because then you can create the same video with different models so that they can relate better to your customer. Here's an actionable prompt for you. Write a 2-minute story about a problem your product solves. You can practice weaving it into your next podcast episode so you can see whether that resonates well with them or not. And you can also, if you have already, leverage social proof. I'm a psychologist. Psychologically, social proof helps people to convince them to buy that thing or not. It's a phenomenon where people look to others and to decide what's trustworthy and valuable. Okay, it's not just you telling them that it's valuable, but if they see someone who looks like them, who bought your services or products and is now successful, they think that they can also benefit from your products or services. And here's how to use it. You can include testimonials or case studies in your episodes. If you are like me, having clients who don't want to share that they have used your services, that's really hard, but maybe you are lucky and you can share user-generated content like unboxing videos or reviews or something like that. You can also especially like in my case, mention any partnerships with universities to provide a service for their scientists leaping into business. So they don't have to unveil that they needed that service and that they used that service, but instead the university steps up and says, yes, we have partnered with Eleonore Soei Winkels for the PostdocTransformation, for example. But you can mention partnerships and certifications and also awards. For example, you could highlight a big name client or at least a relatable client and then have them share how your service has helped them to reduce costs and increase efficiency, etc. Before going back to our episode, we want to appreciate those who financed this valuable episode for you. I want to share with you my #1 lead generator, and you can start that even without a podcast. It's Typeform, and I use them to create free quizzes with open questions and multiple choice answers. I also predefine mandatory answers so I can qualify and score leads, collect their email addresses for later nurturing. I can brand my quizzes, for example, my Check Your Readiness to Leap Out of Science quiz with my audio and video files, so this way I can share specific podcast episodes or other information based on their answers, and then automatically send them an email after submitting the quiz. I even included a calendar invite for those leads who qualify specifically. So now I can help everyone on the surface for free and divert my valuable time only to my high-ticket leads on a deep level. I collect all the data automatically after my initial setup, as I have also integrated it with my remaining tech stack. If you want to try out Typeform for your own lead generation and qualification, DM or email me Typeform so I can share my experience and consult you. Please check it out via my link in the show notes. I only get a small financial reward if you become the customer using my Typeform link. After this quick appreciation of our sponsors, we are now back in our insightful episode. So here's your actionable prompt. You can compile 3 or more pieces of social proof, reviews, success metrics, or customer stories, and then you can create a podcast segment where you showcase them. And the next one is the scarcity principle. Scarcity creates urgency, motivating people to act sooner rather than later. And here's how to apply it. You can offer limited time discounts or bonuses exclusive to podcast listeners. You can announce limited stock or capacity for a service in the podcast, but also on your website. For example, a business coach could offer a discounted rate for the first 10 podcast listeners to book a session. And here's your actionable prompt. Create a special time-sensitive offer for your audience. Announce it in your next episode and track how many listeners convert. And here's a pro tip. Do not bake that in the episode itself. Because if it's evergreen, then obviously that time-sensitive offer doesn't make sense. But instead, you could add this as an advertisement so that only when you have this offer, it's dynamically inserted into the episode. And once you don't want to have it offered again, you can just toggle it off. Let's go to part 3. Let's explore real-life examples of businesses that successfully use video podcasts to drive sales. And I want you to look into your own niche. I bet there are already businesses promotional podcasts. Maybe they inspire you to create your own in your own language. For example, most podcasts are in English. However, I could also create podcasts on the same topics in German only, because that is my native language. You have to think of your own ideal client avatar. In which languages do they speak? For me, as for the scientists, our common language is English. So it doesn't really make sense to create just a podcast in German only for career transitioning into business. So it really depends on your niche. And I want you to look into your niche. Are there any podcasts that do something that you can emulate? You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, but you can learn from them how they promote their services and products, like online courses, affiliate tools, sharing case studies and success stories, behind the scenes peaks, giving live demonstrations and offering lead magnets like free resources to hook their audience. And while you listen and learn from them, I want you to reflect on the following. Number one, how could your educational content build trust and prime listeners for buying? Number two, how can you be authentic and relatable as the brand face for your own business? And number three, which origin story can you tell to highlight your services and products' uniqueness? Let's pause for a moment to respect those who sponsor this valuable episode. If you want a relatively passive income, creating a paid e-course as your service is a great option. Especially if you are like me, an experienced teacher in higher education and now want to share even more knowledge and create a paid membership with live group meetings beyond the e-course. Offering an e-course is a no-brainer, and Thinkific is an AI-infused learning management system which is a dream for every educator. After setting up an e-course and our membership, you also need to market and sell your e-course. And that's when lead generation with Typeform and podcasting via Descript and Podbean can complement you well. If you want to try out Thinkific for creating your own e-course and membership, DM or email me Thinkific so I can share my experience or consult you. Please check it out via my link in the show notes. I only get a small financial reward if you become their customer using my Thinkific link. After this short salute to our sponsors, we now return to our inspiring episode. And here's your actionable prompt. I want you to research 3 successful podcasts in your niche. What elements could you include into your own strategy? For example, again, my PostdocTransformation show is a service-based and affiliate link-based podcast. So I soft mention my own career transition e-courses and hard sell in my email list. So I'm not selling hard on my podcast. The podcast is the first layer of communication. If people are interested, then they opt in into my email list where I continue to serve them. But I also eventually ask them to buy something because that is the ultimate solution for their problem. If they've gone so far with me, I already earned the right to serve them even better. Now let's dig into the nitty-gritty. What are actionable strategies that you can use to make your own video podcast a sales powerhouse? Well, as a psychologist, I always differentiate between declarative and procedural knowledge. The knowledge that you can explain, declare, is factual information. However, how you do something, that really is procedural knowledge. And this is why you always turn to YouTube for how to do something like that. If you, as the host, demonstrate how to use your product or service, that really is a service. You have to show, don't just tell them what to do. You can walk your audience through how you use your product or your service step by step. And in the era of AI, being human is key. Don't just overly perfect it, right? I just want you to be human. That is what attracts people, not AI. Just be you to build your own know, like, and trust factor. And here's a tip for your demo. Keep your demos concise and focused on key features. Do not overwhelm. You can use multiple angles from your camera for clarity and to avoid boredom. So if there's something really important there, you can zoom in and then you can also go back to the angle of talking to the camera. Here's an example. A food blogger could demonstrate cooking with their spices while sharing tips. So it could be showing something and then it goes into the B-roll mode. You can create interactive segments. You can also host live question and answer sessions, and you can share listener-submitted questions. You can also create a community to foster commitment, provide feedback, and allow accountability. Here's a pro tip. Always lead your prospective client on a yes letter, okay? So you need to address common objectives to your product or service. You can feature real customer questions for authenticity. And this is the fun part which you can get when you always ask for feedback, right? I always ask my people to provide feedback in the DMs, but also in a form, etc. So I can pull from that and then say, These are the top 5 challenges our clients face, and that is why our services or products solve that problem. Do not forget to always include a call to action. For example, visit this website, link in the show notes to learn more. Get 10% off with the code podcast10 or whatever. Sign up for a free trial today. Get prepared with our quiz, whatever. These call to actions should always be nestled naturally within the content, and you can link to them in the show notes. Let's pause quickly to appreciate those who sponsor this valuable episode. So far, you have learned all my favorite marketing and sales tools. Now, how can you bring all the data from your audience, leads, and clients together so you can serve them on a value ladder and for the long term? Even after multiple touchpoints with you, you want to remain on their mind for when they are ready to buy your service or product. I'm expanding my digital business, and I use ActiveCampaign as the centerpiece of all my services like email course, podcast, newsletter, show notes, website, sales page, merch shop, forms, whatever it is, as needed. As a former IT strategy consultant, I have high requirements on my tech stack, and ActiveCampaign offers so many integrations to all my other apps. I use it daily. If you want to create your own digital business with the various AI-driven lead magnets and funnel options, DM or email me, ActiveCampaign, so I can share my experience and consult you. Please check it out via my link in the show notes. Again, I only get a small financial reward if you become their customer using my ActiveCampaign link. Thanking our advertisers for their financial support, we are happy to return to our inspiring episode. If you have a video as well, you can always use visual overlays or captions in the video. For example, when I use StreamYard, I always have a banner. While we are talking, while you're listening to me, there's a banner which you can even click on, or which is prominently showing my Instagram or TikTok profile, or the quiz that they can use to check whether they're ready to leap out of science or not. If you are, for example, a personal trainer, you could do your exercise and then ask if you're ready to start your fitness journey. Check out my 4-week beginner program via the link in the show notes. And the talking head video is somewhat entertainment. I don't know. But you could always use that as a billboard, like I say. You can leverage graphics, overlays, and animations for your brand identity to reinforce your points. For example, in my solo episodes, when I talk about something and I clip out a 1-minute video, the cover art is important for the episode, but once people have watched it, they don't want to watch it for 1 minute or 3 minutes. Instead, I have a carousel on the top bottom of the vertical video. So that sort of like allows the viewer to learn that I have other episodes as well. What other images can you also use instead of podcast cover art? Well, you could add before and after images, charts, or infographics. And again, just a reminder, always use branding elements like your logo, your fonts, and your color. For example, if you are a financial advisor, you could use graphs to explain how your services lead to a better investment outcome, obviously. So if you're a scientist, science communication via graphs and diagrams is very natural. If you're longer in the business already and have successful clients or business partners, you can collaborate with them. You can invite them to your podcast because their testimonials carry weight. For example, if you are a wedding planner, you can invite a past client to share their experiences and show wedding photos or videos if they want. I mean, maybe you did half price for them, but ask them for a testimonial. In my PostdocTransformation show, for example, I interviewed 2 scientists from PhD SciComm, and we even included some of their Instagram videos in the final podcast episode. And here's your actionable prompt. Choose one of these strategies and outline how you would implement that in your next episode. So as promised at the beginning of this episode, let's wrap everything up from a psychological, method, theory, or concept point of view. If you are one of my bachelor or master students in real life, please comment in your podcast player which psychological models, theories, or concepts would also have been applicable. So now let's apply social learning. by Bandura, 1963. Through social learning, through role models, efficient and effective success, critical, goal-directed behavior can be learned and then, later on, executed. And your podcast supports the process of learning that your service or product helps your clients solve their problems. As they later execute using your service or product for their solution, they capitalize on buying your service or product. To make social learning successful, you need to think of the following. For the listening experience in your podcast, two aspects are relevant: your listener's attention and memory. Firstly, you need to hook your ideal client's avatar attention. The more relatable and powerful you are, the more your listener will want what you offer as a solution for that problem, and the more you will be their role model. And that's why you need to be role modeling significantly and aligned with their goals. If you and they share the same goals, they will want to follow you. They will want to be like you. And secondly, you need to help them remember why. So don't tell them a lot of things they don't remember, but you have to help them remember why, how, and what they need to do to solve their problem. That's why you explain your service and even demo your product via video and audio. The better you can create declarative and procedural memory for them, the better they can remember your service or product as the go-to solution. Let's pause quickly to appreciate those who sponsor this valuable episode. Are you wondering when and where you can get the attention of your audience? You always think you don't have the time for posting on multiple social media platforms. I totally get you. I have been enjoying weeks of social media breaks during the school breaks while I served my audience with prepared content to be scheduled out as needed. Ideally, you have just derived countless social media content from your one video podcast episode. Even without a podcast, with Metricool, the Swiss Army knife for your social media management, you can create and schedule your content in advance, according to the best posting times based on your followers. For campaigns across many days or weeks, I capitalize on their auto list and repeat features so I can focus on the important things according to my vision of life. If you want to schedule your content on social media, DM or email me, Metricool, so I can share my experience and consult you. Please check it out via my link in the show notes. Again, I only get a small financial reward if you become their customer using my Metricool link. Thanking our sponsors for the financial support, we are happy to return to a valuable episode. So you need to describe and show your service and product in an emotional way. Remember that I said emotions are the glue for learning? I said that in episode 2 of our Creating Reorganized show. And that's also the leeway to highlight repetition. Just because you said something once, that doesn't really mean that your listener will remember you saying that. Podcast listeners also do other things while listening to your podcast, right? So I do the same. You probably do the same. You're not just listening to me intently, but instead you're probably cleaning the dishes, doing the household, or whatever you're doing, waiting for whatever. Maybe you're running even, so you can't take notes. So as a podcaster, you need to repeat your message very often. If you don't want to sound like a broken record, you could do this also via dynamic ads for your own services and products. You can teach them in your ads as well, and that's quite repetitive, but it really shows increasing the memory of why, how, and what they should do to solve the problem. Do you remember that I said your podcast supports the process of learning about your promised solution as they later execute using your service or product for their own solution? They capitalize on your service or product. And it could be that this is months, years at a later stage of life. Even if that is much later in the future, with your podcast, you want to move your listeners from 1, curious explorers, to 2, engaged learners, and 3, potential buyers. And if that doesn't ring a bell, please listen to our second episode on how to qualify leads and convert them into paying customers as linked in the show notes. And see, I just did that again. I repeated an important lesson across 2 episodes. You need to prepare your potential buyer to achieve success in the most probable way. So how can you achieve that? Well, in your podcast, you need to be realistic, describing the required skills to master the task again and again. The more they have this expectation that they are able to execute, the better it is. And if they have a skill gap, you need to upskill the listeners to be able to execute successfully. But you want to tell them from the get-go that they need to level up. That is the expectation management that helps them to be sort of like trusting you, that they don't have this magic solution, but they know what they have to commit to. And then you can have a free webinar where you can provide initial feedback, or even a paid exclusive community where you can provide advanced individual feedback. Because feedback really matters to become more confident in believing that your solution really can help them and that they are able to execute that as well. And to see other buyers of your service left and right, how they master their relatable challenges will motivate your listener to buy and capitalize on your service and products as their solution of their problems. So here's your action point. Can you think of a free webinar that you can create for your niche down ideal customer? So you can teach them a basic version of your service or product. This way they can get the taste of the full solution. Okay, to recap, video podcasts are a game changer for showcasing your products or services. By combining storytelling, social proof, strategic calls to action, and engaging content, you can drive sales authentically and effectively. Here's your challenge for today. After listening, pick one strategy we discussed and try it in your own next episode. Let me know how it goes by emailing me or connecting on social media. I would love to hear about your successes. And maybe also open questions so that we can address them in future episodes. If you haven't, please also listen to our first episode on why founders of a small business need a video podcast to build trust and boost sales, and our second episode on how to qualify leads and how to convert them into paying customers as linked in the show notes. To celebrate this season of the Creating Reorganized show, I want to offer you a business podcasting internship for 4 weeks. You can apply or join the waitlist for the next season for this treat by sharing why you want to do a business promotional podcast, what your services or products are. And if you and your business are in line with my own values, I will strategize, conduct, and produce with you your first 3 episodes. For the first one, I take the lead and you shadow me. For the second one, you do the work and I help you out. For the third one, you are on your own with me, cheering for you on the sidelines. For more details, see our application form as linked in the show notes. Do you want to start your own side business as a runway for your better future? Then you will benefit from our free business readiness quiz as linked in the show notes. Are you a small business owner and want to create sustainable marketing and sales content? Try video podcasting about your service or product, like I do in my PostdocTransformation show. I'm a mom of 2 kids in school and a professor, and I have no time to lose running my business. And if you also want to save time and energy, use our dovetail evergreen strategy. You can easily derive countless valuable social media content from just one video podcast episode. You can quickly attract a broad audience across many social media platforms and then nurture them into leads and clients in their ears and emails while you live according to your vision of life. Let me teach you Creating Reorganized. If you're ready to dive in and start your own podcasting journey, I highly recommend checking out the tools I mentioned earlier: Podbean, Descript, Typeform, ActiveCampaign, Thinkific and Metricool. Each of these services has made my podcasting business experience smoother and more efficient, and I trust that they can help you too. Thank you for listening to our Creating Reorganized show. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, share it with your business friends, and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. Your feedback helps me as a small business owner to serve more small business owners for free, so thank you. I'm your host, Professor Dr. Eleonore Soei Winkels, and now I wish you a happy creating reorganized according to your vision of life.